EST 100, Speech 3, the informative speech. This is America and its psychological problem by, of course, For hundreds of years, civilization has pondered on why us humans believe in physical and cognitive ways we do. Everything from our motor skills to self-consciousness is stored in our brain, which also houses our psychological well-being. This affects everyone on Earth that is a human, but it mostly has spiraled out of control for one of the most powerful countries in the world, which is the United States. In a place with such freedom, democracy, and expectation, you would think that, that citizens would have their psychological well-being in a perfect state. That is not the case, though, for most, as Americans are faced with many unappealing factors of life that have affected everyone. There are going to be three factors of this psychological, cognitive way of humanity that we, in a way, it's communication and its environment and learning. And they all have a positive and negative effect on American citizens and mental well-being. And these have all been altered over the course of history from how they have been started out as basic and they are now very complex because of the way of how technology has increased in the way that we have our American system lined up of success and making money and doing things that we do. So to start off, we're going to start with communication. Communication is how we speak with one another. It is one of the elements that connect us all cognitively to be able to solve problems, help others, or say hello. But many indifferences or forms of negative communication have harmed American society. For one big example for this, communication would clearly be the way that police communicate with people in today's society. They're so quick to draw to defense of their own selves. They need to increase their training on communication to be able to help solve simple issues that reside solely just on communication. I mean, this is just one of many. I mean, imagine, for instance, the basicness of a Spanish person or a foreign person that doesn't speak English, and a police officer shows up on site, and they immediately, the person gets out of their car and says, why am I getting pulled over, but another language, and the police officer that doesn't know their language is just going to assume that it has something to do with violence or they need to defend themselves, so they're going to take their training and they will immediately pull a gun. And we see stuff like this every single day on the news. It's lack of communication that brings violence upon others. And it's also lack of communication in schools where kids will go to counselors or kids will go to teachers and will explain or voice their issues to teachers or counselors and say, look, I'm having major issues right now dealing with this, this, and that. And counselors will mark them as children or teenagers at high risk, but they will fail to communicate to higher ups. They'll wait too long to say something, and it's a lack of communication that causes a lot of issues. Another simple thing is the way that citizens treat each other involving social media and telecommuting has greatly impacted people's socialization skills and etiquette. Obviously, we all know with social media, there is a huge problem with cyberbullying. Nobody really uses etiquette when it comes to social media. We learn about it in Nova, we learn about it in communications, we learn about it in pretty much every class. I mean, syllabus has stuff about email etiquette when you email a professor, but there isn't a syllabus for Facebook. There isn't a syllabus for Instagram or Snapchat. There's people that are willingly putting themselves out there on social media and they're using it as a platform of communication. It's a form of technology that has evolved to this crazy, it's like mutated almost to this crazy thing where everybody knows everything about you, and people need to be able to take a step back from that and realize that it's not even reality when you're in that platform, because people will comment, or people that see that will immediately communicate to themselves that this is who you really are, or this is something that is true about you, and it's something that tears people apart. But people use it for business, people use it for pleasure, people use it for anything. But going to the next point, which would be environment. The environment Americans are surrounded by is a lot cleaner and in order than in other countries. But when we talk about environment, I'm referring to our psychological environment. So obviously, in psychology, because I'm a psych major, um, we have three main points that we talk about when we talk about our psychological environment. We have support of competence, support of autonomy, and quality of relationships. So supportive competence is obviously the educational factor, which is when you're in school, uh, college, high school. It's instructors that are speaking to you and feeding you information, and you're like a sponge basically as a student. You have to retain as much information as possible, and then you take a test usually on that determines how much you know or how much you listened or whatever. Kind of an out of date thing, but this is something that's still used today. We have supportive autonomy. Autonomy is basically learning like the morals of society and the right and the wrong. And this is a stage actually in early development of the brain that we have to develop as kids. The parents actually don't teach this to us, believe it or not. It's told that we pretty much parent ourselves mostly. Our parents are just there to guide us, but we have to eventually learn on our own what rules are and how society takes these rules seriously. That's what autonomy is. It's also student empowerment and curricular meaningfulness and quality of relationships. Obviously, discrimination experiences, teacher supportiveness. Not everyone's going to support you. Not everybody is going to be there for you. You have to be there for yourself a lot of times. But it also goes into play with attachment. You have a lot of people that have attachment issues. You have people that don't want to be attached to people. You have people that do want to be attached in relationships, out of relationships, all across with parents. Um, but environment also takes into play space, as you can see in the top right, intimate, personal, social, public. These are all spaces that we've created in our cognitive mind that have proved to impact our life significantly. I mean, we invite people in these closer spaces, like our intimate space, like personal space, and then we go farther out, kind of like social media, like what I was talking about earlier. Social space and public space. This is what people see on the outside, and then you have people that kind of get a closer glimpse at you on the inside, which are people like somebody that you're in a relationship with. Um, but pretty much the issue with this is, um, with our environment, is that our psychological environment is being infiltrated in a lot of ways in people's lives with technology. That's mainly what it's going to, and it's referring to communication technology become a part of our lives and environment. This goes hand in hand with media as well, but social media is where some people live, and it controls where we see what we see every day and how we perceive. So kind of going back to the first main idea with communication, definitely goes hand in hand with environment because we make it our environment. Social media is something that it becomes our life to a lot of people, which is sad, but that's not something that should be true. Going to my third point, which is learning. This is one of the most important one of the three because going to this is when kids in school are learning about psychological differences between one another. This is when people are learning about themselves, learning from their peers, learning from their instructors. Learning is how younger generations develop their cognitive skills and physical skills. From whom to adulthood, we are always learning, but things have changed as the standard has been altered. Yes, there's something called the DSM. The DSM is basically what determines you have autism, you have Down syndrome, you have these chromosomal disorders, and you have spectrum disorders. Spectrum disorders are a little bit different. They're basically non-chromosomal, but they're determined by a medical professional, and these are what determine IEPs. IEPs are what help kids get extra help, put kids in special needs learning classes, but it creates a barrier. It kind of separates them from what people would say the normal kids. But there's no such thing as normal, obviously. yet we realize that's not true. But the problem is the way we're being taught in American schools or how history has influenced our country today is exaggerated and slightly false. We are taught in public schools that America is the greatest country on earth and that we won all the wars and that we basically are indestructible and adaptive, but this is just not true in today's world. So, kind of just going into something a little bit more complex, just what we actually learn in school, stepping away from the learning disabilities and stuff like that, what we're actually fed in school. A lot of the stuff in a public school that we hear is spruced up or it's caked up to try to make us think as a country that we are the people that won every war just because we were involved with it for a certain amount of time. That we, it's kind of like a narcissistic view of the world and how we're involved, and it's not correct. A lot of the stuff, and I feel like it affects us definitely psychologically and psychoanalytically. It affects the way our politics are. It affects the way we grow as people. So going to my conclusion, based on the three factors, communication, environment, and learning, our society in America has been negatively affected over the past years. It's important to look up to past psychologists that proved the way for psychology as a whole and pave new paths to understand more about our individuals and ourselves. Going to my APA cited sources for my bibliography, the first will be Petrel essay, written in 1997, Molarity versus Modularity of Cognitive Functioning, a Behavioral Genetic Perspective, Current Directions in Psychological Science, pages 96 to 99. Ann Belsky, J.K., written in 2016, Experiencing the Lifespan, New York, Mac Hire. This is actually my textbook for Developmental Psychology 230 currently right now. Third is Avant A., written in 2018, examining the impact that the locus of control, emotional intelligence, and narcissism have on the internet addiction and information disclosure among college students. Assertion, Abstracts, International, Section A, Humanities, and Social Sciences. Thank you very much.